Your lavender is standing out there in the late summer heat, with all its color gone. The purple has faded to the shade of a paper bag left in the sun. The bees have drifted off to the oregano and the catmint. The whole plant has that tired, sprawling slump about it that says the show is over for another year. And in the next couple of weeks that plant gets handed one of 3 futures, and you are the one handing it over. 20 good summers, 6 mediocre ones, or a brown skeleton by the time the leaves turn. I am James Scott, and this is Golden Age Gardening. The job waiting on that plant is not difficult. It takes 11 minutes with a decent pair of pruners. But it is the easiest job in the garden to get catastrophically wrong, because it punishes cowardice and confidence in equal measure. The cautious gardener decides cutting healthy growth is vandalism, and walks back inside. Every season after that, a little more of the base hardens into bare timber. The green climbs higher up the stems like a tide going out. The middle hollows. By year 6 you have a sprawling ring of gray sticks with a hole in the center, flowering weakly at the tips, and no amount of care brings it back. The confident gardener does the opposite. Sees the mess, gets the shears, and cuts the whole thing back hard, the way you would cut a buddleia or a rose. And that plant is finished on the spot. Not weakened. Finished. Both graves are avoidable with one sentence, and I will give you that sentence. The deadline, the exact measurements, and the rescue plan for a plant already gone woody. If that sounds like the straight answer you have been hunting for, the subscribe button is free, and it keeps this channel coming to you. Why lavender breaks every rule you know here is the piece of information that makes sense of everything else, and hardly anyone explains it before handing you a pair of pruners. A lavender is not a perennial, and it is not a shrub. Botanists call it a subshrub, which in plain language means you are looking at 2 different plants glued one on top of the other. The upper portion is soft, green, herbaceous growth. New leaves, new side shoots, this year's flower stems. That part behaves like a perennial. It is flexible, it is alive, it regrows. The lower portion is timber, brown, hard, bare, and it climbs a little further up the plant every year, because lavender stems lignify from the base upward. That is what age does to them. And this is the fact everything hangs on. That brown timber is a dead zone. Lavender will not reliably push new shoots out of bare, leafless, woody stem. Cut into it and nothing returns. Not in a month, not next spring, not ever. You are left holding a stick where a branch used to live. Nearly every other woody plant forgives this. A hydrangea, a dogwood, a butterfly bush will shrug off a hard cut and throw new growth from old wood, because they carry dormant buds waiting for exactly that emergency. Lavender carries almost none. It is the exception on the whole plot, and the instinct that serves you well everywhere else is the precise instinct that kills it. So your entire task, every year, boils down to one question. Where does the green end and the brown begin? Find that line, work above it, and you cannot fail. Which gives us the sentence I promised. The blade never leaves the green. That is the video. Everything after this is detail hanging off that one line. Finding the line on your own plant. Reading a lavender takes 30 seconds, and it is the step people skip completely. Kneel beside the plant. Part the foliage with your fingers so you can see into the interior, down where the stems converge. On a young, well-kept plant, you will find green leafy growth running most of the way down toward the crown, with only an inch or 2 of woody trunk at the bottom. Lovely. Easy job ahead. On a plant left to itself for a few years, you will find a fist of gray, gnarled, leafless wood down there, 4 or 5 inches of it, with the green sitting on top like a wig. Growers call that the chicken leg, and once you have seen it, you cannot unsee it. Run your finger up a stem from the base until the bark gives way to leaves. Mark that point. Do it on 3 or 4 stems from different sides, because the line is rarely level. It sits higher on the shaded side, lower where the sun hits hardest. That uneven line is your floor. Everything you cut happens above it, with a margin I will give shortly. While you are down there, look for one more thing. Little green shoots emerging out of the old brown wood itself. Not leaves at the top, fresh growth breaking out of bark. If you find those, that stem has life in the tank, and you have options later. If a stem is bare from the crown up with nothing breaking anywhere along it, that stem is a fence post. Remember which ones. Your deadline is a piece of arithmetic now timing, because the calendar is not the boss. 2 things are. The first trigger is the flowers. You prune lavender when the main flush fades, and the spikes go dull and papery. That is the signal. It is an event on the plant, not a date on a wall. The second is frost, and this is where people come unstuck. When you cut a lavender, you are not simply tidying it, you are sending it a message, and the message is grow. Within 2 or 3 weeks, it pushes out a fresh crop of soft shoots, and those shoots need 6 to 8 weeks of warm weather to harden off before the cold arrives. Send a plant covered in tender growth into a hard frost and it burns off, and the plant limps into winter carrying damage it did not need. So here is your deadline, and you can work it out at the kitchen table. Look up the average first frost date for your area, and count backwards 6 weeks. That date is your absolute cutoff for a proper prune this season. For a great many of you, that arithmetic lands in the last days of July, or the first 2 weeks of August, which is exactly why this is landing in your feed the week it has. And here is the honest fork in the road, because for some of you, the correct answer is the opposite of this entire video. If you garden where summers are short, and the first frost is an early visitor, do not take a full prune this late. Deadhead only. Snip the spent flower stems away, leave the foliage alone, and save the real annual trim for late winter or the first stirrings of spring. Forcing out growth you cannot ripen is worse than doing nothing. Which lavender are you holding? The type in your ground changes your date, and there are 4 families worth knowing. English lavender, Lavandula angustifolia, is the compact gray-green one with short stems and the sweetest scent. It runs its main flush through late June and into July, which means for most English lavender growers the window is wide open this minute and closing fast. The lavandins are the big architectural ones. Grosso, Provence, Phenomenal, Hidcote Giant, long stems, tall spikes, the ones in the postcard fields. They bloom later and hold longer, running through August and sometimes into September. If yours is still throwing color, leave it be and cut the moment the flush breaks. Yours runs a week or 3 behind everyone else's. Spanish lavender, the one with little rabbit ears flapping off the top of each spike, is the early bird. It flowers in late spring, so if you have one, its moment passed months ago. You are looking at a light tidy and a deadhead, not a serious prune. French lavender, with the toothed leaf edges, is the sensitive one. It resents hard cutting more than the others, and a vigorous prune can finish it outright. Go light, take the flower stems and the barest skim of foliage. I would like to know which one is standing in your garden, and what part of the world you garden in, because those 2 things together decide your calendar. If you feel like sharing that in the comments, I read them and come back to them. The cut itself, the lovely part of this job, and the reason I look forward to it, is that you are not really doing maintenance at all. With lavender, the harvest and the prune are the same motion. You gather the crop and shape the plant in one pass, and nothing goes on the compost heap. Timing within the day matters. Cut in the morning after the dew burns off but before the sun turns fierce. The essential oils sit at their highest concentration in the cool early hours, and heat drives them off. Cut a bundle at 2 in the afternoon in a heat wave, and you have thrown away much of the fragrance you spent all year growing. Stage matters even more, and this surprises people. If you want those flowers for drying, for sachets, for cooking, cut them when 1/3 to 1/2 of the buds on each spike have opened. Not at the peak of the display. That is past the best moment. You want most buds still shut tight, with only the first ones showing color. Because that is when the oil is richest, and when the dried flower holds together instead of shattering. Now the technique, and it is a 2-handed job. Gather a fistful of stems in your free hand, so you are working a bunch at a time, rather than picking away at single stems like a bird. Slide that fist down past the flower spikes, and through the leafy growth, until your knuckles reach the region where the green is dense. Look for a leaf node, one of those small junctions where a pair of leaves or a side shoot comes off the stem, and place your cut just above it, angled slightly so rain runs off the wound. That placement is not fussiness. Below every cut, the side shoots you just released grow away into new stems of their own. And a healthy established English lavender cut, properly and early enough, will often reward you with a second, lighter flush, 6 to 8 weeks later. You did not merely harvest it, you asked it politely for more. The shape you are aiming for amounts now, and this is where the rule earns its keep. Take roughly 1/3 off the plant. On the long-stemmed lavandins you can take up to 1/2, because so much of what you remove is bare flower stem carrying no foliage anyway. And keep 2 inches of green between your blade and the top of the woody zone. 2 inches. That is the margin that keeps you honest, while you cut, shape as you go. You are not clipping a flat-topped hedge, and please do not run a hedge trimmer across it. What you want is a rounded dome, a cushion, a firm green mound with no flat surfaces on it. That shape holds itself dense, keeps the center from splitting open under its own weight, and sheds rain and snow instead of collecting them at the heart of the plant. Walk around it as you work, rather than standing in one spot. And here is the standard I want you holding yourself to. Every single stem you cut keeps green on it. Everyone, leave at least 3 or 4 leafy buds above the wood on each cut stem, and finish with roughly 2/3 of the plant's green growth still on the plant. Step back when you think you are done. It should read as a tidy green hummock, smaller and neater than it was, but green all over. If you can see bare gray sticks poking up through your handiwork like fingers, you went too far, and those sticks are not coming back. 2 notes on kit. Use sharp bypass pruners, the sort whose blades cross like scissors rather than the anvil type that crushes the stem against a plate. And wipe the blades with rubbing alcohol between plants, because a dirty blade delivers disease into every fresh wound you just opened. One last request. Leave a handful of spikes standing for the bees. Lavender is one of the finest nectar sources in the late summer garden, and they are working it hard. Take your armful, leave them their share. 3 things to leave undone. While you have the pruners in hand, let me head off the 3 impulses that usually follow, because these are what put lavender into that woody state in the first place. Error number 1 is feeding it. A plant just cut back looks like it could use a boost, and that instinct is dead wrong here. Lavender is a lean soil specialist. Give it nitrogen and you get what nitrogen always gives you, which is soft, sappy growth, at the direct expense of flowers, on a plant that flops open and sprawls. Skip the feed. If your ground is truly poor, 1 light low nitrogen feed in spring is the whole program, and after the first year, even that is optional. Which leads into error number 2, the watering can. An established lavender in open ground is a drought plant from dry, stony, sun-baked hillsides. What kills lavender more reliably than any pest or any winter cold is wet feet. Soggy ground rots the crown and roots, and once that begins, there is no coming back. The secret to this plant is not something you add, it is drainage. Gritty, sharply drained ground, and if you can raise it on a slope or a low mound, better still. Error number 3 follows the same logic. Do not pile mulch against the crown. A thick, damp blanket of bark or compost, packed around that woody base, traps moisture in the one place the plant cannot tolerate it. If you mulch lavender at all, use gravel or grit, and keep a clear ring of bare ground around the stems. A variety warning to finish, because this catches somebody every season. Phenomenal, that popular lavender, carries long flower stems that look far tougher than they are. On that one, cut only as far as the mound of foliage sitting beneath the spent stems, and no deeper. When the wood has already won now, the question some of you have been shouting at the screen since the second minute, what if yours has already gone woody? Honest answer, sometimes you can fix it, sometimes you can only slow the decline, and sometimes the kindest thing is to accept the verdict. Here is how to tell which you are dealing with. Go back to the test I described earlier. Hunt for green shoots breaking out of the old brown wood. Where you find them, that stem has resources and you have something to work with. Where a stem is bare from crown to tip with nothing breaking anywhere, it is finished, and no technique on earth revives it. The method that works is gradual, and runs over 3 seasons. Rather than attacking the whole plant, choose a handful of branches this year, and take each back by 1/3 to 1/2. Always finishing above green foliage. Always leaving leaves on the branch you touched. Next year, the next group. The year after, the rest. Slowly the plant rebuilds into a mound rather than a sprawl. What you must never do is the thing everyone wants to do, which is look at that gray tangle, decide to be decisive, and take the whole thing down hard to renovate it. That is not a renovation. That is an execution, and it is the most common way a lavender dies. For a stem carrying a trace of green on old wood, a gamble is available. Trim it back by 1/3 and wait 6 weeks. If new growth appears, you won. If nothing has broken in that time, cut it out at the base without a shred of guilt, because it was already gone. And the verdict I would rather give you than false comfort. If your plant is heavily woody, split open in the middle and mostly bare, pruning buys a few more seasons. It will not give you back the plant you remember. Taking cuttings while the wood is right, which brings me to the part that turns a funeral into a beginning, and it is perfectly timed for the next few weeks. Late summer is the ideal moment for semi-ripe cuttings, and semi-ripe means a shoot that is firm and slightly woody at the base but still soft and flexible at the tip. Bend one. If it springs back, it is right. Take shoots 4 inches long from non-flowering growth. Strip the leaves from the lower half, trim the base just below a leaf joint, and push them around the edge of a pot filled with a free-draining mix, roughly half potting compost and half sharp sand or perlite. Water once, keep them bright and out of blazing sun, and resist the urge to fuss. Rooting takes 4 to 6 weeks, and your success rate will be high. I do this every August as routine, and it changes how you feel about the whole plant. Because here is the truth. Nobody prints on the label. Even grown perfectly, lavender has a lifespan. English lavender and the lavandins give you 15 to 20 years when pruned properly. The French and Spanish types are shorter-lived, closer to 5 to 7. This is not a plant you inherit and pass on. It is one you keep renewing. 10 cuttings taken this month cost 20 minutes and a pot of grit, and they mean the day your old plant gives up, its replacement is already 3 feet tall and flowering elsewhere in the garden. Let me hand it all back to you compressed. The blade never leaves the green. That single line is the entire discipline, and everything else is detail hanging off it. The job happens as the main flush fades, whenever that lands for your type, and no later than 6 weeks before your first frost. Look the date up and count backward. If you garden where the cold arrives early, deadhead only, and save the real trim for the end of winter. Cut in the morning, when a third to a half of the buds on each spike have opened, so the oil is at its peak. Work a fistful of stems at a time. Come down past the flowers into the leafy growth. Cut just above a leaf node. Keep 2 inches of green above the wood. Take a third off, or up to a half on the tall lavandins, and shape a rounded dome as you go. Finish with green on every stem and no bare sticks showing, then leave it be. No feed, no watering can, no mulch against the crown. Lavender does not want your help. It wants your restraint, sharp drainage, and one honest cut a year. And the difference between a plant that gives you 20 summers of that scent drifting across the path on a hot afternoon, bees working it from breakfast until dusk, bundles hanging upside down in your kitchen every August, and a split-open gray wreck by year 6, is 11 minutes and 2 inches of green. That is one of the better bargains in gardening. If somebody came to mind while you were watching, somebody with a lavender gone to chicken legs, or somebody about to take a hedge trimmer to a healthy plant, send them the link. 11 minutes of watching saves a 15-year plant, and that is a decent thing to do for a neighbor. Give the video a like if it earned one, subscribe if you want the next one, and come find me here again soon. We do this the honest way at Golden Age Gardening, with real horticulture, exact numbers, and the truth about when a plant is too far gone. Go out while the light is soft. Get your hand down into that plant, and find the line where the green ends and the brown begins. Everything else follows from that.